Well, the 20.15 trillion naira budget of fiscal sustainability and transition, excuse me, was President Buhari's last to the lawmakers and was presented at the temporary chamber of the House of Representatives. President Buhari said the budget, quote, was prepared amidst a very challenging world economy that is weakened by the lingering effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, high inflation, high crude oil prices resulting in huge cost of PMS subsidy and negative spillover effects of the Russia-Ukraine war. End of quote. According to the president, many economies around the world are currently contending with fiscal instability, slow growth, food crisis, and high interest rates. The planned expenditure is looking at statutory transfers of 744.11 billion naira, non-debt recurring costs of 8.27 trillion naira, personnel costs of 4.99 trillion naira, pensions, gratuities, and retirees' benefits of 854.8 billion naira, and overheads of 1.11 trillion naira. Now others are capital expenditure of 5.35 trillion naira, including the capital component of statutory transfers, debt service of 6.31 trillion naira, and sinking fund of 247.73 billion naira to retire certain maturing bonds and government-owned enterprise at 2.42 trillion naira. President Buhari explained that the budget deficit will be financed mainly through borrowings, but many are asking, is this a good way out? Well, joining me to unpack it all is the chairman Dialogue Group and a budget tracker, Mahdi Shehu. Mahdi Shehu, good to see you, and thanks for your time. And you watched the president live at that joint session on Friday. The proposed 2023 budget is caught between revenue shortfall and huge borrowing. Many have received it with mixed feelings. Let's hear your take on this.
Yeah, thank you very much. I watched the president live when he was making that presentation, and I was almost shivering throughout. Shivering for the following reasons. Number one, nothing new in the budget. Nothing new. Number two, total contradiction in the budget. Number three, sending an absolute fear.
Well, Mahdi Shehu, there seemed to be a loss in connection to you. I hope we'll get Mahdi Shehu back again on track. But basically, what we're looking at today on the square is looking at the proposed 2023 budget, which the Nigerian president has already presented to a joint session of the National Assembly in Nigeria. This has actually caught many Nigerians, excuse me, talking, especially looking at what he said about the tertiary institution. By the way, the country is still on strike. The university teachers are still on strike, and the government is proposing, looking at a way around out of this logjam. And of course, the president is also speaking about petroleum subsidy, an issue many and not really comfortable with the president, knowing full well that the president, at that time, a presidential candidate of his party, the APC, kicked against the removal of subsidy. Now, in 2022, I beg your pardon, the president thinks otherwise. Now, Mahdi Shehu, good to know you're back. Quickly here, the conversation has to do with, well, you said you were surprised to see President Buhari present this budget as contained, looking at some of the highlights we've given, and you say, well, there's nothing new.
Exactly, nothing new. Because if you say you have a budget of 20 trillion naira, and up initio, 6-point-something trillion is going for debt servicing, it means tell the public you have a 14 trillion naira budget. Debt servicing has nothing to do with the welfare, with the life, with the living of over 200 million people. That is number one. Number two, look at the revenue projections. Total contradiction in the revenue projection. You are saying that you are going to earn more money from non-oil revenue than you are going to earn from oil revenue. You are also saying that you have set aside over 1.1 trillion naira for overhead costs. Worse still, you say you are going to borrow 10 trillion naira to supplement the budget because you have shortfall of revenue. We have forgotten that already the federal government have borrowed over 40.1 trillion naira still under borrowing, and we are borrowing another 10 trillion naira. And already the federal government have borrowed 20 trillion naira from ways and means through the Central Bank of Nigeria. In other words, by the time this regime is gone and gone forever, Nigerians will be indebted to 70 trillion naira local and foreign debts. Not only that, there is a plan to sell 52 high-choice federal government assets to finance the budget. By the time you finish selling all these assets, the next question is, when the next regime comes, what asset do they have to sell to address certain fundamental developmental issues?
Let me jump in here, Mahdi Shehu. Mahdi, you're not just the only one who thinks, differently on this proposed 2023 Nigerian budget. Rivers State Senator Betty Apiafi in southern Nigeria has said the 2023 budget proposed by President Buhari cannot be implemented because the parameters used by the government, according to the senator, are wrong. Now, let's look at the implications for this budget performance should this be passed at the end of the day.
The budget performance, last budget or this budget, there is a linear
relationship. We're talking about the last budget performance.
There is a linear relationship between the 2021 budget, 2022 budget, and the 2023 budget being proposed. Already, there is a less than 50% budgetary performance. Look at you go to the Federal Ministry of Finance website, you go to the DMO website, you go to the Federal Ministry of Works website, see the amount of money released to all MDAs. Compare with the amount of appropriation that was passed by the National Assembly. You see that is at the end of the year, by December 31st December 2022, there would have been less than 52.5% budgetary performance. The first question to ask is, with all the money made available, with all the loans collected, why the less than 52% budgetary performance? What answer would you get is there are leakages, there are non-performances completely. Of course, inflation have taken deep into the capital project, and you'll see inefficiency, you'll see lack of commitment in executing projects by government officials across all the MDAs. In other words, if there is less than 52% budgetary performance in 2022, it's naturally going to affect the performance and implementation of the 2023 budget. What is left to be asked is, where are all the monies? Where are all the loans? Where are all the appropriations?
But I'm quite sure you're also aware the government has been speaking, talking about key infrastructures they've been able to put in place, looking at the borrowings, talking about road projects, bridges, and the likes. Let's look at the feasibility of the budget, especially budget financing that relies, as you rightly said, on borrowing, while allowing another big news, which we must also put this side by side, for government borrowing, also allowing what many wonder as and oil thievery that has hit over 3 trillion naira in just a year.
No, I think let us get a perspective. When the president was presenting the budget, he made the following statement that they have invested so heavily in infrastructure and that he hoped he is going to commission all the road projects initiated by his regime under the 2022 capital budget before the end of his tenure. But I am not a theoretical person. I'm a very practical person. I want to inform Mr. President that Abuja-Kaduna Road is a death trap. There is no way Mr. President will commission it before May 2022, before May 2023. Okene Benin, another death trap. Kefit Jos, death trap. Kefit Makodi, death trap. Kogi to Ilorin, death trap. Boko to Enugu, death trap. Enugu to Onitsha, death trap. Edo to Auchi, death trap. Abo to Uromi, death trap. Umuahia to Okige, death trap. Otukpo to Otukpa, death trap. All of the 13 roads cannot be commissioned, cannot be finished. Even by a combination of angels and spirits, this road cannot be completed before May 2023.
But I wonder if you also have list of those roads that have been completed by the same administration, because they also have list of roads that have been completed. And quickly, Mahdi, let's put this in perspective, because President Buhari administration also ensured some form of continuity in contracts awarded to those who were fixing some of these roads when he took over from former President Goodluck Jonathan of the People's Democratic Party. Speak to us on that.
Just holding him to his own words, and I'm quoting him, that he is going to commission all roads awarded by his government before May 29, 2023. So I'm holding him responsible for what he said. I'm not even interested in what he has finished. What I'm saying is that he cannot commission the roads I have just mentioned. They are in a total shambles. They are death traps. Somebody, somewhere is not telling him the truth. If you want to know the truth, it is just about 1 hour, 30-minute drive or 2 hours from Kaduna to Abuja or Abuja to Kaduna. It takes you now about 5 to 6 hours if you are lucky not to sleep along Kaduna Abuja Road because of bad road. These projects cannot be completed. Somewhere, somehow, somebody is telling him lies. If he wants to know if it's truth, what I'm saying, please let him take a drive from Abuja to Kaduna. He has the luxury of security apparatus, security gadgets, helicopters to give him all the cover he requires so that nobody will tell him a lie that all is well as far as infrastructure is concerned. These are deadly roads. Somebody must tell him this, and I'm communicating to him on behalf of those people who follow this road, because he don't follow the roads, his ministers don't follow the road, his permanent secretaries don't follow the road, senior government officials don't follow the roads that I've just mentioned. It is we who follow the roads, and we are living testimonies. We testify, we affirm, we swear that these roads are death traps.
And Mahdi, you know, there are also claims in some quarters, because if you look at, I'm going back to the figure, 20.15 trillion naira budget, and looking at the critical capital expenditure put at 5.35 trillion naira proposed, and you say, looking at the heavy borrowing of the country, let's put this side by side with what may come. You have all of that on the screen. But quickly here, the talk about crude oil theft, which many say relies on the active connivance of some other, or maybe officials, security agencies, and the community. Do you think if this, first let's talk about the activities. How How did the news get to you? Now, let's put this into perspective and see if Nigeria can put a finger on the figures of what's been stolen in the past 9 years.
Okay. Let us get this perspective. Number one,
Yeah.
the first person to raise alarm was the Chief of Naval Staff. Some weeks ago, he said oil theft is beyond the small-time bankers of the Niger Delta. That oil theft is a complete syndicate, he said, involving oil workers, involving oil union workers, involving owners of the ships, involving NNPC staff, and he said involving all security organizations that are participating in the oil issue in the entire Niger Delta. That is the chief of naval staff. Number two, don't forget, even before this discovery, Mele Kyari came on the air and said they are stealing 250,000 barrels per day of crude oil. He went further to say that 589 billion naira is being stolen of crude oil annually. But with this discovery, we come to say that Mele Kyari was not telling the truth. This is the figure. Number one, if and Senate President and Speaker Dogara said 1 million barrels of crude oil are being stolen every day. Check the Sun newspaper of last Saturday. Now let us take one after another. If you take Mele Kyari's figure, 250,000 oil barrels per day stolen, it translates to the following. Number one, if you take the black market rate, barrel of oil is being sold $100 on the average per barrel. 250,000 barrels times $100 will give you 25 million naira per day. $25 million per day. If you multiply $730 black market rate, it gives you 18.25 billion per month. If you multiply by 12, it gives you a figure of 33 billion. 33 billion. 120 billion per year. At the rate of $730 means annually total of $24 trillion. 24 trillion naira is being stolen annually at black market rate. At official exchange rate, the amount of crude oil being stolen every year is 24.177 trillion, which is more than Nigeria's entire budget. The entire budget for this year is 20.51 trillion. The entire money, the entire oil being stolen by the end of December this year will amount to 24 trillion. So the stealing of crude oil is enough to finance the entire 2023 budget without borrowing a single kobo. Number two, if you take the official exchange rate, the official exchange rate will give you a figure of 14 trillion naira. That is the official exchange rate, 14 trillion. That is just 6 trillion less than 2023 budget. Annual crude oil budget stealing in Nigeria is so scandalous that if you look at what the Senate President is saying and the House of Reps, he is saying that 1 million barrels of oil are being stolen every day. If you pick the figure, 1 million barrels at what? At $100 per barrel means $100 million crude oil is being stolen every day. If you multiply at 730 to $1 in black market, you have 73 billion naira. For 30 days, 2.19 trillion naira. For 12 months, it gives you 26 trillion naira being stolen every year. If you pick the entire implication, is that whether at black market rate or at official exchange rate, it is scandalous that this theft is taking place at a time when Nigerians are living under abject poverty, when there is 33% unemployment rate, when there are more than 20 million out of school children, when government is borrowing to fund budget, when government is borrowing, is owing trillions of naira to local contractors, when there are no drugs in the hospital, when the roads are dilapidated, when everything seems to be black, bleak, and gray, that is when a handful number of people are holding the entire jugular veins of Nigerians. Many asphyxiating, many are dead. And over 30% of Nigerians have no access to food, morning, afternoon, and night. Another 50% of Nigerians have no accommodation of their own. And there are 33% of Nigerians who are unemployed, they have no source of income. Indeed, if there is any time to go into prayers, this is the right time. We should go into soul searching. Less than 2,000 people are holding the entire 200 million Nigerians to ransom. But what is even funny is that immediately after the inspection, NNPC MD said it has been 9 years when this stealing has been taking place. I thought he should allow professionals to ascertain that. If you have a skin disease and you go to a hospital and meet a dermatologist, what he does is he will get part of the skin script for a skin snip to arrive at a professional conclusion. Similarly, these pipes of NNPC, both those on land and under sea, you are supposed to employ professionals, especially archaeologists. If you want to know the time
let me jump in here, Mahdi. Let me jump in here because we have a whole lot on the plate. Quite a figure, a staggering figure, quite a revelation that would actually shock any Nigerian and African to see that figure for a country that has gone on borrowing to finance quite a lot of projects. We'll come back. We'll take a moment. When we come back, I want you to speak to us on some possible, way out of this, some possible solutions, because of the naval chief in Nigeria did say, pointing fingers at government officials, security agencies. It then does mean that the government knows where to get the money back from. Is it possible? That's when we'll come back with Mahdi Shehu on The Square. Stay with us. Well, if you just joined us, you're welcome to watching Village Square Africa here on News Center Television, broadcasting live to 54 African countries and beyond. And today, our focus is on Nigeria's budget and what's been happening in the oil sector of the West African nation. Nigeria's parliament has tasked the country's government to come down hard in crude oil theft and reverse an alarming deficit in the country's 2023 budget proposal. Now, the president had acknowledged the impact of oil theft on the performance of the 2022 budget during his speech and said oil revenue was below target due to significant oil production shortfalls. He disclosed that relevant agencies had put in place measures to curb the incidence of pipeline vandalism and crude oil theft in order to meet the country's crude oil production quota. President Buhari, while presenting the appropriation bill, also noted that the 2023 transition budget was designed to address critical issues and lay a solid foundation for the incoming administration. Still with me on the square is Mahdi Shehu. He's the chairman, Dialogue Group, and a budget tracker. Mahdi Shehu, good to know you're still there. And we'll be going back and forth, but this has to do with getting Nigeria, first making a sense of what Nigeria is dealing with and going through, and also having a firm understanding of what form of solution the country can put in place to safeguard what is already losing. In 2015, Mahdi, President Buhari inherited a budget of 4.5 trillion naira, but now he's closing his tenure with a 20.51 trillion naira. Now, vis-a-vis what we've highlighted, looking at the oil theft and some other anomalies, how would you say the government and its agencies, security agencies and other agencies, can get itself out of the big mess that has been going on in the last 9 years?
I think it's not even 9 years, because 9 years is just a speculation. If you want to know the total number of years that this thing has been going on, allow professionals to go down the sea, on land, on sea, and ascertain the number of years. Whoever said it is 9 years is too much in a hurry, because you can't go for an inspection.
So in other words, Mahdi, in other words, you think it's too quick
it's
to actually arrive at that at a number of years.
That's right. If you want to establish an age of an instrument or an item, an undersea or on land, you call an archaeologist. He is the only person competently in a position to excavate, extract, analyze, and make a pronouncement. Just like a medical doctor will send you for examining for laboratory tests and for other investigations for him to express an opinion, because he's a professional. Now,
but again, we also understand, Mahdi, apologies, I need to butt in again here, but we also understand that Nigeria's oil major, the NNPCL, has good archaeologists and experts in its fold. So isn't that possible that that's what they've done?
No. The day the NNPC MD went for that inspection was the first day they discovered that there is no information that archaeologists were at the site. If they were, it is a news to us. We don't know about it. Like what I'm saying is, it's too early for you to say 9 years. Allow investigation, full-blown investigation. Don't distract people who are going to be appointed. In any event, if there is anybody who thinks something will be done, I am not one of them. Nothing will happen about this oil theft. Nobody will be brought to book. Heads are not going to roll. In Nigeria, heads don't roll. Let me give an example. There was Kuja prison incidents. There was that of Yola, prison of Jos, Ikoyi, Edo, Benin, Oweri, Kabo prison in Kogi State, Madala prison in Ilorin, Abalongo prison, Oyo State, Abo prison in Delta State. All these incidences, Minister for Interior is still in place. Controller General of prison still there. People who were guarding the prison, the army, the police, the navy, everybody was there. No single head rolled, none. In the oil industry, this is not the first time that this theft is taking place, but Minister for Petroleum Resources, the senior one, who happens to be Mr. President, is still sitting intact. Junior Minister for Petroleum is still there, enjoying. NNPC, MD, still there. Executive directors, there. Everybody, security agencies that are supposed to be responsible for the guard, they are all there. In Nigeria, you can do anything. Be rest assured, no head will roll. Indeed, if it were in another environment that this scandal happens, heads would have rolled.
And when you categorically, Mahdi, just a minute here, Mahdi, when you say heads don't roll in Nigeria, irrespective of what happens, this then means it looks like a culture that has been there over the years. At what point can this be reversed? Because that is what Nigerians want to see, people to be held account.
You see, the problem is we are living in a country where, unfortunately, religion has descended heavily into the arena of politics, such that if you find a smart aleck Muslim who have looted and stolen high, empty, and dry the public treasury, the moment he is picked for questioning and charged to court, you will find senior Islamic clerics, senior traditional rulers from the north will go and plead on his own behalf. And they will claim that he is being persecuted because he's either a Muslim or a Northerner. Similarly, if a Christian were to steal, and they have been stealing from the public treasury, high, empty, and dry, the moment they are taken for questioning or they are arraigned before a court, Christian organizations, senior clergies, senior traditional rulers will go and prevail over that he's being persecuted in the first place because he's a Christian, because he's a Southerner. As long as we continue giving accommodation to criminals who have been destroying this country under the name of the umbrella of religion, Islam or Christianity, for that long, there can be no reverse. Secondly, Nigeria is the only country in the world where we celebrate criminals. Somebody who has been convicted for crime, the moment he is released from prison, you see him being celebrated in his own hometown. Church service, mosque prayers are being conducted to welcome him back. Soon he becomes a senator. Before he says Jack Robinson, he is given a traditional title. In fact, if care is not taken, you will see his name under the name of those given national honor.
And quickly here, if there's anything, Mahdi, if there's a thing I can pick from what you've just said, which I want you to speak to, it would seem as if Nigeria and Nigerians have walked into the trap of thinking that a particular region belongs to any religion. Because in your analysis, you were talking about a Muslim north and a Christian south. Is that what it is? Because I have been to some parts. Yes, because I've been to some parts of the country, specifically. Because when you were giving the example, it looks like so saying that because he's from the south and a Christian, and the narrative by non-Nigerians has always been the Muslim north and the Christian south.
Let me be specific. Some years back, a northern banker stole 3 billion naira from a northern bank. In between himself, his wife, his house girl, his younger brother, they took 3 billion naira loan from shareholders' money. When it was discovered, he was taken before a court. After the first appearances, a member of Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs in Nigeria, 2 traditional rulers, went to the villa, interceded on his own behalf. Not only that, by the next adjournment date in court, a nolo prosequi was presented that the federal government do not intend to continue prosecuting him. Not only that, this guy, 4 years after, I saw his name was Mr. O-O-N. Even some 2-3 months ago, I saw him write an article, and after his name, I saw that O-O-N. 9 years after, a governor from the south, a Christian south, stole 30 billion naira. I think he was targeting GCON because somebody stole 3 billion naira, he was given OON, and he think he wants a bigger national honor, he was targeting GCON, he stole 30 billion naira. He was also arrested, taken to court. South-South Christian Forum, South-South Elders Forum, and the then Secretary General of CAN, my friend, went to the villa. I still have the clip on NTA. They went and asked Obasanjo, Mr. President, sir, the 30 billion naira said to have been stolen by our son. Does that money belong to the federal government or to the state? Obasanjo said that money belongs to the state. They said, he is our son, it is our money, we have forgiven him. A country where religious bodies serve as an umbrella to harbor criminals is a country that needs to go on soul searching.
So that brings us, Mahdi, that brings us, because we're actually coasting home, that brings us to the next question. What kind of country or economy do you think the next president of Nigeria will be inheriting?
He is going to inherit a chaotic economy, an economy that looks like a rainbow, in the sense that it will take him extreme native wisdom, a lot of prayers, a lot of interventions from professionals to reconstruct, to decongest, to realign, to put in line for him to understand the mess he is going to be dealing with. He is going to be dealing with an economy that can only be described as an economy where everybody is on his own, everybody for himself, God for us all, survival of the fittest. This is to put it mildly. By the time professionals give him the narrative of what is on ground, I am sure whoever that president is may end up having sleepless nights if care is not taken, angina pectoris. If care is not taken, continuous palpitation. If care is not taken, he may end up going into permanent, irreversible coma as a result of the shock he's going to come across.
And if I may ask, what tough policy choices must Nigeria make in order to have a revamped economy?
We know what the government security agencies know where these monies are because they know the criminals. A responsible government will be able to know who these criminals are. Don't forget, last year, AMCON went to the National Assembly with a list and they told the Senate President, Mr. Senate President, we have a list of less than 300 people who are all Nigerians. They have collected 5.3 trillion loan from our banks. Some of the banks have collapsed. We bought over this debt. They have refused to pay. We can't do anything. Kindly help us. 5.3 trillion naira taken from shareholders' money by less than 300 Nigerians. Heaven have not fallen. Nothing has happened. The story has died down. When I was asking myself, each time I come to Abuja, or I go to Port Harcourt, or I go to Lagos, or what I see in Kaduna, or what I see even in my state in Katsina, all over Nigeria, you see skyscraper buildings, you see multiple estates, you see fantastic houses all over. And I begin to ask myself, where is this money coming from? From a country where we don't produce anything, our industries have collapsed, we import everything. There are no economic activities generating this wealth. Where is this money coming from? I have gotten now the answer. This money must be the money being stolen, huge as it is, from the oil industry by a small clique, cattle, and carbon of heartless people. People from within the government, from within the security cycle, from the businessmen and businesswomen who have a close proximity with people about, and of course, in connivance with the international community, in connivance with the owners of motherships, in connivance with people who are controlling the technology. It's a combination of a cycle.
And quickly, before I let you go, many would wonder, because President Buhari, a candidate of his party then, did say he was going to fight corruption, and these are some of the, instances, situations of which many Nigerians want the president to look into. Paint for us a picture of what the next man, in this case we don't have a female candidate, who may arrive the scene in 2023, should do to ensuring that the fight is truly a fight against corruption, Mahdi?
Well, number one, he must walk the talk. It is not enough to say that you are going to fight corruption. You must be seen to be fighting corruption in real lifetime, real life online fighting of corruption. That is number one. Number two, yeah, if you are fighting corruption, let it be that you are fighting corruption, not pay lip service to fighting corruption. Number two, you don't reward people who are corrupt. In Nigeria, if somebody is caught stealing, he has two chances. One, they look away from the stealing. Number two, he is taken to court and he enter into plea bargaining with government, or he is discharged, or he can even win election while he is still in prison, and he has the possibility of receiving a national honor, or even becoming a governor or a senator or a member of House of Reps, or even a minister. In Asia, if you steal money, mostly because of shame, they commit suicide. In America and Europe, when you steal money, you go to jail. In Nigeria, when you are involved in corruption, especially if the amount is much, you stand the chances of getting a national honor. You stand the chance of becoming a board member, a chairman of a board of parastatals. You stand the chance of becoming a minister. You stand of becoming a governor. It is only in Nigeria that this abnormality is happening, and it looks normal. As at now, the claim of APC to fight corruption is an absolute contradiction, and they know this, we know this, everybody knows this. It is an insult to the collective intelligence of people, especially with this NNPC large-scale stealing of crude oil, especially with the stealing in the office of the Accountant General, where only one head has so far rolled, that is the arrowhead, as if he is the only person in that office.
All right, okay, Mahdi,
as if he is the only person
Mahdi,
implementing,
I think this conversation should be expanded, no doubt. We'll look at critical issues in Nigeria as we go on the show. I'd like to thank you very much for your time, Mahdi Shehu. Thank you for speaking with us, and to our viewers across the continent. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sulaiman, and it's bye-bye.
Thank you.